This video will provide an overview of arts education in Arlington Public Schools during this time of remote learning. Today we will be hearing from several APS staff members. On our panel we have Monique Caldwell, the theater teacher at Swanson, Brian Bursch, the band director at Yorktown, Mandy Moore, general music teacher at Claremont, Catherine Henkel, elementary instrumental teacher, Phalinda Cotis, visual art teacher at HB Woodlawn, Mary Gaynor, visual art teacher at Jamestown Elementary, Kelly Breedlove, teacher specialist for arts education, and Pam Farrell, supervisor of arts education. Let's begin with Pam. How prepared are your teachers to teach the arts virtually?
Thank you, Jackie. The arts teachers, like all teachers, are very committed to providing the best learning opportunities and experiences for their students. The arts teachers are also very highly critical thinking and flexible thinkers. So when we were faced with this challenge last March of schools shutting down and the possibility that we would be virtual in the fall, they really came together. First, what we did was we assessed whether teachers had the skill set to teach virtually, and we filled those gaps by providing training over a 2-week period with tiered levels of training for all staff, pre-K through 12th grade teachers. We then broke out into smaller groups. We have amazing lead teachers in the arts, and they led their small groups with how we would tackle this nuance that we had never done before. We looked at how to define the curriculum, how to streamline it by identifying standard-based power standards within each of the content areas, and then started to build curriculum and resources around that. Through the use of technology, building Canvas modules across county in order to provide equitable opportunities for students, looking at how we would grade and assess. And then most of all, they really led us with thinking about what resources we didn't have that we needed to get in order to deliver curriculum virtually in the fall. So this didn't just stop when school ended. These teachers across our community have met throughout the summer. We have 170 arts teachers in Arlington Public Schools. They have met consistently over the summer. They have taken online learning classes. They've also developed material needs for students and started to work on strategies on how we will deliver instruments at the secondary level. They've identified the art supplies that are needed for each of the content courses. We're working collectively on providing some materials to students on the elementary level. So we are not just starting next week. We are ready to go. We have the confidence, we have the tools. We are appreciative to Arlington Public Schools for the support and the resources. And all we need are the students, and we're ready to go. So we can't wait.
That's really great to hear. Would a few of the teachers like to share what they're most excited about teaching virtually this year? Maybe we could start with Mandy.
I'd love to. I'm really excited about making connections with my students. It feels like it's just been a long time since we've been able to be together, and this may be different, but it's just as exciting. And I think in some ways it's really cool because it gives us the opportunity to create relationships not just with our school family, but to bring in teachers and other experts from around APS and around the world that we might not always have access to. But it's really simple to say, hey, I know that this person is an expert at this idea. Would you like to come be a part of my Teams meeting with my class? And now suddenly my students have just a vast array of different opportunities to them. So that's what I'm excited about. But maybe Catherine wants to share what she's excited about.
Yeah, thank you, Mandy. I really like what you said about just building a community and those relationships, because I'm just most excited for meeting my new students and seeing my returners. I've really missed them. And when it comes to teaching virtually this year, I'm also excited for the opportunity to just showcase the power the arts has to help us grapple with our human condition. You know, these are really challenging times, and we need the arts to help us make sense of them. Music is just a way of processing what we think and what we feel is something we can put energy into and get an immediate response. And I've always said that I teach music because it's almost like teaching how to be human, how to take those feelings and transform them into something you can share with others, or you can just keep it for yourself. And it doesn't need words, because sometimes words are really hard. And I also teach beginners, so it's all about discovery and exploration, and how small changes like moving one finger here or here can make a huge impact. And it's about making choices, like listening to the sounds you've created. Do you like them? Do you not like them? How do you want to put them together to create something that's bigger? Do you like how others have put them together? Do we as like performers have this responsibility to play something as it's written? Because in that moment, we're representing someone else's feelings and not just our own. And there are things like, what does happy sound like? What does sad sound like? Can we play something that sounds happy even if we feel sad? And what's that experience like? So just instruments give us a different way of experiencing the world, and I'm excited to keep doing that. And I just say, we need music, and I'm excited so much to share it this year. So that's really what I've got to say. And Mary, what would you like to add?
Catherine, thank you so much for that. I could relate to so much of what you're saying in terms of art as well. I am so excited about this year. I feel like the arts are the most prepared to meet this moment. We know how to overcome adversity and to be creative and flexible. In many ways, I feel like this is giving us as teachers, and hopefully our students as learners, superpowers. Our skill base as educators has increased so much in the tools that we have available. I think I'm excited to bring so many different resources into the teaching of art and developing relationships with my students. I see nothing but potential. And I will say also this as Pam mentioned, these difficult times have brought us together as a community of learners, and I've never collaborated more deeply with my colleagues, and I can only imagine that's just going to have a profound impact on my students. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. Why should students stay in their arts electives if taught virtually? Will it still be the same? Brian, maybe you could start this one.
Yeah, thank you. So I expect that we're going to have the same high energy, interactive, collaborative music making that students have always expected in an arts environment. And I guess when I think about where my passion for music derived from, it was the opportunity to get together with friends and make music. And whether that's virtual, hybrid, or in person, that's exactly what we're going to be doing. Virtual music collaboration is a part of our future. It's already been here as a part of our present, pandemic or not. So what we have been given is the opportunity to jumpstart our inclusion of current day professional music making practice. And it's not just about the music. It's like, has there ever been a more important time to have a setting for cultivating creativity, social bonds, and community? And that's what I think the arts can do for each of us. How about you, Monique?
When they ask the question, will it be the same? I'm going to say no, it's not going to be the same. But the great thing is that there are different things that we can learn. I learned last year that no, we weren't going to do our show live, but we did our show on video. And how can we do that? And so my brain is always thinking with my kids. So if there's a closed door, okay, maybe the door is closed. Okay, well, fine. Can you find a key? Okay, is the key under the mat? Okay, can you pick the lock? Okay, is there a window? Can we bust the door down? So there are different ways of doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. And though it may not be the same way we've done it, it doesn't mean that that's not a good thing. So I think the arts challenge our creative resolve. It challenges creative thinking. And I think that's what the kids need. And so for me, our theater classes may be a bit different. We're still going to be very physical because I'm sure they're probably going to be sitting a lot of the time. So when they come to theater, they're still going to be very physical. We're still going to be playing games. We're going to figure out how to do some of the games we play live on video. And so a lot of what we're going to do, my challenge is always going to be, okay, how can we take what we used to do, and how can we still have the same energy? How can we still have the same bond? How can we still communicate? How do we still feel the same? Another thing I thought about was, I saw Hamilton for the first time. Okay, I'm a theater teacher who has not seen Hamilton yet. I just didn't get paid enough. But anyway, I saw Hamilton and I felt like I was in the seats. So no, I wasn't there, but I was there. And so how do we get the kids to still make theater and feel like we're still connected, but we're not? That's the goal. So no, I'm not going to act as if things are not, I'm not going to act as if things are the same, but we can still have that same feel and the same passion. That's what's going to be the same for me.
That was all amazing, Monique. That's exactly how I'm feeling. And I think my students are just raring to go. I've heard from so many of them over the summer. They know it's going to be different and they're embracing it. They're looking for ways to connect. They want that art experience, and we're going to give it to them. We've been preparing since March. I've been learning, like my colleagues, new technologies, new ways of connecting with students. And now more than ever, they need that avenue for self-expression, and they want it. Absolutely. And over the summer, we've been using avenues like Instagram to put up artwork, look at artwork, and then respond in the comment area. And we're discovering new ways to make our art connect with people and go out into the community. And what we're finding is the artwork is going out into a wider community, and that is truly exciting. So I am just ready to go and so eager to see my students again in this new format.
Mm-hmm. Like you all said, Monique, Brian, and Belinda, the arts are going to be the same but yet different. And I think on behalf of the choral arts teacher, they're embracing and super excited about the different formats that are going to be allowed to deliver music to their students, still synchronous. But one thing I think that is unique about the distance learning format that we're going to have is that students are going to get very individualized attention as well. And I think that's one thing that's slightly different than our past scenarios of our full classes. Some of the platforms that we have, especially for the choral music with Sight Reading Factory and their personalized music tracks, they're going to get to work synchronously, but yet also have this individualized coaching that will go along day while in person, yet while at home, to really hone in on their craft and feel a lot more confident that they might not have had while being at school. So I think the different components that are being allowed and offered to them are really going to enhance their experiences this coming year.
Thank you. Some of you have already addressed this, but would anyone else like to discuss how the arts will be taught virtually, what the experience will look like for you and your students?
Yeah, I can jump in here and talk a little bit about our instrumental music programs. We're all about creating, performing, and responding to the arts. So that's not just in a formal conductor-driven ensemble setting, but in ways that will resonate for our students throughout their adult lives. So we have access to all sorts of amazing software that will allow for both individual and group music making through performance, through arranging, composition, using real and virtual instruments, and digital production. So I'm really feeling like students are going to come away from this experience having developed music skills and literacy that they're going to be excited about, that are going to be real, and that are going to be lasting. Monique, what do you think about theater?
I think I actually started looking at different resources online. You know, there are resources now that since the pandemic has started, they've actually started writing plays, scenes, monologues strictly to be performed online. And I want to be able to take advantage of those things. One of the things, okay, this is a a sneak preview. I want to do a murder mystery online. You know, I want to come up with ideas that I've been wanting to do, but now just saying, okay, kids, how can we do this? Students, figure this out. Let's come together. So I want to do, like last year we did a musical online. And that was strictly to be performed online. So I want to take some of these resources that we've not worked with before. I'm seeing that they're really innovative things, and I want to be able to try them out with the kids. So acting for film, we've done acting for the stage. I want to do acting for film. I want to be able to bring in teaching artists. I'm not going to give away all the stuff that we're going to do, but I have a really exciting year planned ahead, and I definitely am excited and can't wait to see what we come up with. What about you, Amanda?
So much of teaching elementary general music is about finding the joy and the connection of making music together. And I don't think that has to stop just because we're not physically together. One of the things that I'm really excited about is I had the opportunity to use Canvas all last spring, and I was able to find a lot of different resources that could be put into Canvas. I like to think of Canvas as like my binder, or like when I was a kid, like your trapper keeper. And then you open it up and all of this stuff is in there. You can close it back up, you open it again, maybe there's something new today. And one of the things I discovered in the spring was that people have made virtual instruments using a program called Scratch. And I was able to embed those into Canvas. And the same way that I would teach how to play different melodies on a xylophone, or how to read pitch, or how to compose a song, my students were able to do that by pressing a key on their iPad. And so I didn't have to just quit and give up. And so it's so exciting, kind of as Monique said, that there are things being developed right now specifically for this. And I think it would be a waste if we didn't take advantage of those things. And then also, like Kelly said earlier, this is the perfect time to be able to give that one-on-one attention to these students. General music is very much group-based, but all of a sudden now I'm doing one-on-one feedback videos with kids through Flipgrid, and they share something with me, and they can see me and hear me, and it's so great to see them take that new, whether it's a critique or just ideas of how they could make changes or just praise on what a good job they did. It's so great to see in real time them take that, implement the changes, and become a better musician. So that's what I really like. So how about Catherine, what do you think?
I mean, I love what you guys have all said, and I also want to just take a minute to say how thankful I am for all these resources we have and all the support we've been given from APS and from our administrators. For our elementary instrumental, we're collaborating a lot with our administrators at the school level to determine exactly what it's going to look like. But it's going to include a lot of different opportunities for engagement. Students will have access to asynchronous platforms like Canvas has been mentioned, and there's also Seesaw and Flipgrid, and on these different platforms, they're going to have this wealth of content and resources that they can explore and play around with at their own speed too. So they can explore even more than we might have time for in a normal classroom setting, which is great. We've also just designed this really robust curriculum of lessons that have different systems in place to give instruction. And as Kelly and Mandy have mentioned, that individualized feedback component is just huge. The other thing that we're incorporating that I'm really looking forward to is lots and lots of opportunities for students to connect with one another. We're going to use these video platforms, and they can continue to build those social and emotional bonds with their classmates and with their teachers, because we may be at a distance, but all of these arts opportunities are providing a way for us to be united as a community. And right now, that's especially important. So Mary, what's it's going to look like in visual arts?
And thank you, Catherine. I'm so glad you brought the social emotional piece. I mean, we have a robust curriculum and a wealth of resources, but I know all of us are going to spend a lot of time building community in our classroom, making sure we've established expectations and norms so that we can foster that same, safe place for living, safe place for learning that we do in our classrooms. And I think this has also been addressed, is that this, the wealth of different modalities, you addressed some of the different platforms that we're using, the ways that we can embed resources. I think one of the things that I'm really excited about is the opportunity to differentiate learning. I mean, there will be multiple different ways to access the same information depending on what students need. And as I think what's also been mentioned, and which was an absolute highlight of the spring for me, was that feedback, that verbal feedback and dialogue with individual students about their work and about their process, and that was incredibly rich. And this virtual format is going to continue to give us that opportunity. And I'm excited because everything we do virtually is only going to strengthen us as teachers when we're back in the classroom. So it's a stretch year for everyone, and like I said, we're poised to meet this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you. And I really hope I get to see some of those performances that were mentioned. They sound amazing. Kelly, will you be able to have virtual performances in art shows?
Oh, absolutely. That has kind of been put out, or will be put out to students from the get-go, that all these daily and weekly processes are leading up to at least a 9-week performance, if not definitely a semester-ending performance. But I think that's what feeds them, is that knowing that their work is not for nothing, but they're working together collaboratively for their final performance. There's some different platforms and software in place that will allow these to happen. So it's they were already taking place in the spring. And I think that we're going to continue to use even more platforms to allow for our virtual performances for the choral arts.
I can speak to the visual arts and how we will continue to have exhibitions. We found in the spring that, contrary to what we thought initially, it became easier to showcase our students' work rather than more difficult. There were, as I mentioned before, so many social media platforms that the students are really interested in being part of. Instagram, for one, was highly successful. As soon as any artwork by a student was posted, it was immediately greeted by strings of comments. And that interchange is so valuable and so uplifting for student artists to have that immediate response to their work. We also used our school's website to host virtual art shows by way of making presentations, and students were able to be involved in curating what would go into this exhibition, how it would be arranged, what sort of commentary would accompany it. So it was another form of a learning experience. And then we also collaborated with our band director, Carl Holmquist, to make a multimedia performance and exhibition that combined original work by his band students and original work by visual art students in both photography, middle school, and my high school students. And students worked together again to curate this and then upload it. And it was watched on YouTube by a great wide community. It was very satisfying for students to be involved in this.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Before we leave this conversation, are there any other thoughts that any of you would like to share with the students and parents?
I'd like to say something. I really do believe that the arts thrive in this type of setting when it comes to crisis and seasons of difficulty. If you go back and research the Depression, that's where the arts thrived, because people needed an escape, and they didn't need to just think about, let's be honest, death and sickness and disease or poverty. But the arts thrived. And even now, not to just give our kids an escape, but this is also, a way of developing and educating the whole child. You need the right and the left brain. And so the arts are very important for the whole being, and for our kids to stay positive, to stay open-minded, and to create and to use their imagination, because technology has so sort of stifled our kids. And so they need the outlet of the arts to be able to counterbalance some of what is going on. And this is where they get to release themselves through visual arts, through music, through theater, hopefully through dance, right? Because they need that release. Adults need it, children need it, we need it. We need this right now. And so hopefully they hear our passion, because it's not just, math and science and history. We need those things too, but we need the arts as well. We are a whole being. We belong together. And so hopefully we are all able to hear that message, which definitely, is relevant for right now.
I also like to think that my students would know this personally, but at Claremont in my classroom, I have 3 rules: to be safe, to be kind, and to be ready. And I think that that can be an excellent mantra as we go forward into virtual learning for both students, families, and teachers. Keep yourself safe, look after yourself, be kind to each other, be kind to teachers, be kind to families, and be ready. Great things can come from this as long as we have a positive attitude.
I love that, saying that just great things can come from this.
Also, go ahead, Catherine.
This is just, it's just such an exciting opportunity that the school year is providing. If you think about it, this is a first. Mm-hmm. We've never had a school year start like this one. So it's really giving all of our students this opportunity to be pioneers. They can explore and problem solve and just be creative. So this experience is just, it's new and it's different, and it's exciting because of that too.
I think also how the arts document a time in history. If you look at the different eras and, you look at the jazz era, you look at what was happening, socially, socioeconomically, opportunities. This is our moment in a historical context to think about how will we express what is happening in this period in history, not just in pandemic, in social outcry, in political differences, so how do we make sense of this, which is how the arts have always guided us as a society. And so I think this is huge. It's a real teachable moment for us and also for our students. It's a learning moment for us and also for them. So it's very exciting to think about how we will leave our mark as a community of artists and learners within this context.
We truly are making history.
When Catherine was talking about first, it just made me think of particularly within the high school programs, there's so many traditions that have been passed down. We have the ability to be in these cross-grade groupings, like so many of our arts colleagues, and it is always special when alumni come back from the 90s, from the 80s. Recently, we've had people come back from people who were part of that first graduating class at Yorktown, and they talk about things that they started when they were part of the program. And these are things that are special and meaningful to our students. And then to make those connections, I wonder what new traditions are going to be able to be started this year that then 20 years from now, when they are reflecting back or then they come back to our school, they can see that lasting impact that they've had, not just this year for themselves and for their community, but for the community of music makers like at my school moving forward into the future, sort of indefinitely, which is really exciting to think about. And I also think about the arts education mission statement. It's all about offering powerful tools for expression, for emotion, for bringing meaning and beauty into our lives. And that, for me, as I think about just a couple weeks from now, I can't wait to be surrounded by our fantastic students and parents as part of that community of caring and joint artistic endeavor again.
Well, I would like to thank all of you for participating in this panel and everyone at home for viewing this informative discussion about a form of expression that is incredibly important right now. through arts education in Arlington Public Schools. If you have any further questions, please feel free to visit the APS Engage website at apsva.us/engage.
Everybody wants to be a cat, because a cat's the only cat who knows where it's at. Everybody's picking up on the feline beat, cause everything else is obsolete. A sweater with a horn makes you wish you were born every time you play. With the swear in the act, you can set music back to the caveman days. I've heard some corny birds that try to sing, but still a cat's the only cat who knows how to swing, who wants to take a long picnic and stuff like that. When everybody wants to be a cat. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Meow, 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 meow. Mew, 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 mew. Mew, 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 mew. Easy, meeny, miny, moe. Everybody, everybody, everybody wants to be a cat. Now you. Everybody, everybody, everybody wants to be a cat. 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 Everybody wants to be a